Okay, welcome everyone. Lovely to see everyone. Everyone's looking beautiful. Just wait. I know a couple of people are still coming on, but that's okay. I'll just start it from now. So thank you everyone for joining us. I'm very excited for today's guest, who is Chana Frankland. I know some of you know her. Actually, I think most people know, on the call today know who she is. A friend of ours who lives in Devonish. And I know we're very excited when these restrictions ease up and we can actually see her in person rather than on Zoom. So I'm going to spotlight her. I know a lot of people are very interested. So what I'm going to ask you to do, if you have any questions while Chana is talking, she's going to talk for about 15 minutes or so. And then we're going to have some questions. So if you have questions, either write them down or just type them. There's like, if you look at the bottom of the Zoom, there's like a little chat option. Just type them then, and then we'll ask her the questions then. Okay, so I'm just going to pop it on to Chana now. Hi, Marcel, beautiful to see you. And we're just going to allow her to speak. So, Chana, what I might do is just give you a little wave maybe at about 15 minutes. Is that okay? And then we'll just see if there's any questions or if you want to keep talking, because I know there's a lot to talk about. So we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm just going to spotlight you and we'll go now. Okay, welcome, Chana. Please start.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, Joanne, for giving us this opportunity, or me this opportunity, to share a bit of my life with you. It's been so interesting to hear other people's stories, so I hope you enjoy mine a little bit. It's very hard to squeeze everything, so I won't even try. I will give you a quick overview. And then, you know, in the question time, things that you're interested in, you can ask me. I don't mind whatever you want to ask. So, first of all, I was raised in East Africa and with secular parents. So I didn't have any idea about religion whatsoever. And it just didn't come into our life at all. And of course, it was just after the war and everyone was trying to get back to normal. And daily life just was what was normal, you know. What happened in our family, we assumed was normal to everyone. It was only much later that I realized that our life wasn't what everybody else experienced, but I'll get to that maybe. After independence in Africa, we came to Australia, where I went through high school in Eltham, in Victoria, and met my husband Reuben, and we got married as soon as I got out of school, 19. So then we went into our hippie stage. One thing I can say about Reuben and I is that we see ourselves as seekers after truth. So we've spent a lot of our life reading and exploring all kinds of other cultural perspectives. Maybe Reuben can tell his story at one time, which is a little bit different, when he stayed with the Aborigines for a while. But we had our 2 children up in Queensland, and at that time we were looking into Tibetan Buddhism with a view to becoming Tibetan monks and nuns. So we were complete vegetarians and went the whole route, yoga, everything like that. And then one day, after about 2 years or 3 years, I was doing my yoga and I suddenly thought, you know what, this is not for me. I can't find God in this for me. For other people maybe, but not for me. And so I said to Reuben what I'd experienced, and he said, well, that's funny because I just decided today that we should try something else. This is not for us. So we didn't look for anything much. We were busy building our house, raising our children, just getting on with life. And Reuben met a man who said he talked to Jesus all the time, and, why didn't we come to a meeting? So, you know, that's always the hook, isn't it? So we went along to a meeting, some very lovely people there, and to make a very, very long story short, we had a religious experience. And that started us just as being part of a congregation and learning about the Bible, because that really hadn't been a big part of my life, although I have had some religious experiences earlier. So we just continued like that for about 10 years. And when our children were 10 and 8, we decided it's no point just having the theory, you know, we have to be much more practical. So we sold our house and moved to India, where Reuben started, or we started a charity for handicapped children, which ran for about 25 years. So we lived in India continuously for 3 years while I was homeschooling the children. And the children that came into the home were polio, crippled, or in any way handicapped. So they had to come through a medical person first and we were advised whether we could help them or not. And the Indian doctors were wonderful. They gave all their operations and time for free. So all we had to do really was raise money for the daily care and medicines for the children. Then after about, after 3 years, I realized I can't homeschool my children anymore. They're into high school, and it was getting a bit too much for me to manage 2 of them. So we decided to take them to England, where I have relatives. About the same time, Reuben got an invitation based on the work that we were doing. Would he like to come and pastor a small nonconformist, really, church in England, which had become defunct. There were only 2 members. So the plan was that I would go 7 months earlier and I would re-establish a church. We're both qualified as ministers of religion. So I went back there, got the kids settled into high school and so on. And the plan was that, of course, a congregation of 2 can't afford a pastor. So the plan was that when we raised the congregation level, they would pay us a salary. So basically we worked for nothing for 2 years while we raised the congregation up. And we were quite different from a lot of other Christian works. We didn't really, we were teachers. We didn't push evangelism, don't believe in evangelism personally. So our whole plan really was teaching the Bible, and mostly from what is known in Christianity as the Old Testament, from the Torah. And it was amazing how quickly the church grew. It seemed that people were really interested in, you know, those stories and parallels and so on in the Tanakh. Then as the church grew, we started to interact with other church pastors, and we discovered that we were not on the same page as most Christians, which was very interesting. So we were teaching in a Bible school at the time, and our subject was cross-cultural communication, because that's what we're really into. And we were invited to come with the Bible College on a trip to Israel. So that was fantastic to be able to do that. Well, going to Israel really opened our eyes, I can tell you. So that was the start of, or the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning, or whatever you want to call it, because we saw things in the land of Israel. The land of Israel itself spoke to us and showed us a lot of things that we couldn't call truth anymore. And as I said, we're truth seekers. So when you start seeing in the land of Israel that it doesn't line up with the Christian dogma that you're supposed to be teaching, you come to a crisis in your not in our faith, but in how we should be approaching the subject. So we felt to be people of integrity, we had to look into it a lot more. So we did a lot of studies, and what we learned appalled us, and we felt we could no longer continue to call ourselves Christians or to work in a church any longer. So we handed the church ministry, which was thriving. I mean, you know, who does this in middle age? We had 2 thriving ministries. We gave both of them away. We came back to Australia to look after Reuben's father and my mother, who were elderly. And we started to explore the basics, really, just to go right back to the basics and see what we could come up with. And the biggest thing which had appalled us was, of course, anti-Semitism in the church. which takes the name of replacement theology, which basically says all the good things in the book belong to Christians by faith, and all the bad stuff in the book we attribute to Jews. And we found that position absolutely untenable. And the more Jewish people that we met, the more friends we made, the more we read, the more we studied, the more we realized that this is not right. And so we approached Rabbi Jaffe at the Brisbane Hebrew congregation in Brisbane with a view to conversion. So of course, that's quite a process. So we had to go and see the Beit Din, of course. They approved us to start studying. We found a wonderful old gentleman, Shmuel Ankri, my husband is talking to right now, who became our teacher. And we were with him for 6 years while we went through the conversion process. Now, along the way, we started to brush up against a lot of Judaism, obviously, and started to realize that there were things in both of our families, in our childhood and upbringing, which started to perplex us. Judaism in our family culture that we hadn't recognized because we didn't know what Judaism was. For example, when my grandmother died, my mother covered all of the mirrors, drew all the curtains, sat on the floor for a week. I was very worried about her. I said to Dad, we should get Mum to a psychiatrist. She's severely depressed. Something's wrong, you know, we have to fix this. And my dad said, don't worry, she'll be over it in a week. And she was fine after a week. So to you, that would resonate as being something possibly that you can identify in your own culture, but it wasn't in a secular culture. It wasn't in our culture. So we started to investigate some things. Prior to us coming back to Australia and going to the Hebrew congregation, we'd gone to a Christian conference in Israel, in Jerusalem. And at that conference, the conference leaders had organized for an Orthodox rabbi to come and tell of his childhood. So he was talking away, and one of the things he said just about had me fall off my chair, because he was saying, oh, there's some funny things that we do. You'll find this funny. But he said, you know, when it comes to shoes, we don't just put on our shoes. He said, we put on our right sock and then our left sock, then our right shoe, but we don't do it up. And then we put on the left shoe, we do that up, and then we do up the right shoe. Well, I nearly fell off my chair because my father had said there's many ways to put on shoes, but this is the best way. And that was exactly what he had said. So as you can see, we started to question and think, well, maybe there's more to this than meets the eye. So our daughter started researching our family trees, and we have discovered that Reuben, in fact, has Jewish parentage back through his father's line, and I quite possibly through my mother's line. But we have no proof, and so the Beit Din, of course, was very sympathetic, but they said, look, the smart thing is the easiest thing is to go through the conversion. You'll learn a lot of things that people who just come in saying, oh, you know, my grandmother was Jewish, so I'm Jewish, but I don't know what to do or what being Jewish means. So we went through the whole program, and I'm so glad that we did, because it was such a rich learning experience for us. And we have not looked back. We have enjoyed every minute of the last 10 years or so since our conversion. We stayed in the Hebrew congregation for all of that time, made Aliyah and went to Israel after our conversion for a period of time. We wanted to stay. My granddaughter got sick, so there was no one to look after her. We had to come home, unfortunately. So, you know, we came home and we thought, well, we might as well settle here. We had depleted a lot of our finances with the conversion, with the GFC, and also with making Aliyah. So we had to buy where we could, which is Devonish, and we love it here. You're all very, very welcome. Come and visit anytime you want. Just let us know, because it's a long drive and you'd need a cup of tea at least by the time you got here. But so that's it. really in a nutshell. The overview, a lot more detail. So really, I'm quite happy, Joanne, if people have questions, then I know what you're interested in and I can give you more detail if you wish. Thank you.
Beautiful. That was amazing and so insightful. Thank you for sharing that with us. One of the questions, I can't remember if I've actually asked this of you, but I think maybe it's a bit of a comment that I thought was very interesting, is that both you and Reuben went through this at the same time. It's not like yourself going through it and Reuben going, you know what, not for me. You both went through it. And I just find that incredible. Like, you know, in everything you do, and I guess being soulmates, you know, in partners in life, but you chose the same path all the way through your lives. And even with Judaism, which is not an easy path to, you know, with the conversion, you still stuck it together. I find that incredible.
Well, I think one of the things I can say, apart from the fact that we sneeze in tandem and do everything together, but I think because we were reading the same kind of books, and we were on a learning curve together, so we came to conclusions together. We discussed what we'd read, obviously. I mean, one of the books that made a big impact on us both was a book called When Jesus Became God. Okay, so this was written actually by a Jewish person, but as his thesis in university for conflict resolution. So it was really on the basis of working out the conflict, and we were actually going through that very conflict ourselves at that time. So it was a very timely book. We discussed it. It's a very dry historical document, really. It's a thesis. But we found that it spoke to us just at exactly the time that we needed to hear somebody else's opinion on this. So I think that's possibly an answer to your question. If you read the same books and discuss them,
Yeah.
chances are you come to the same conclusions.
Excellent, thank you. So that's been amazing. We've got 10 minutes, so yeah, so put up your hand if you want to ask a question. So Marcel, I'm just going to unmute you just a sec. You just need to press unmute and then ask your question, please. Thanks.
Was Reuben your husband's given name when he was born, or is it his converted name?
Actually, it's his converted name, but in fact, he changed his name many years before we decided to convert, because he felt that he wanted a Jewish name. For what reason, I don't know. It's like something prompting from within. So he changed his given name with his father's permission. He talked it over with his father, who is still alive, and explained his reasons that he felt more identified with the Jewish people than he did.
Also, another question, sorry.
That's all right.
Another question, how hard was it for you to convert?
Look, it's a long process.
But did you get any opposition when you started? Did you get like aggressiveness against you because you wanted to change? Did they make it difficult for you?
Yes. Okay. First question. Our children were very, very supportive for a lot of reasons. They had also felt a real pull towards Judaism, even when they were Christians. So they didn't oppose that at all. One of my brothers won't speak to me at all because of the conversion process. He felt it was very irresponsible. I know that had my father been alive, he would have opposed it, definitely, because of something that happened in our childhood it's another story, but I'm happy to say if you want. So within family, it's a bit of a mixture. And to those that I thought would give us difficulty, we just haven't told them. Why have an argument when you don't need one?
No, my question is, how much the religious people made it hard for you to convert before they accepted you?
Oh, the Jewish people?
Yeah. I mean, when you started, the people
when we started, well, yes, again, now, I don't know if you're aware of it, but you probably are, that when a person converts, the Jewish people are neither to encourage nor discourage. And I have to say that the Hebrew congregation was very good at remaining totally neutral, but it did fall very much in the way that we felt we were on our own the whole time. We didn't feel that it was a friendly place to go. If we'd been going there for friendship, we might not have made it through. But we were going there to find truth, and we were going there for Hashem. So because of those two reasons, we were able to do it, and because we had each other. I think if you were going there for a social life or to find a husband or any other reason but Hashem, to be honest, well, I know a lot of people who tried the conversion route and not everybody made it. So I also understand that Jews don't want to necessarily make friends with people who are going to drop away later and sometimes even become aggressive because they didn't feel they could make it. It's a love-hate relationship, isn't it, sometimes?
Because I heard the story from a friend of mine. He wanted to marry a Christian, and she wanted to convert, and she knocked at the door of the yeshiva, and the woman came out, and she said, "What do you want?" And she said to her, "I met a very nice Jewish man, and I want to convert to marry him." And she said to her in a very aggressive way, "What does a Jewish man what is a Jewish man doing with the chicks like you?" And she slammed the door in her face. And this woman went and converted the liberal way.
Ah, yes. Okay, so yes, not everybody welcomed us with open arms, but I think it's much harder if you want to marry into the faith, because people think you're only converting because you want to get married. And are you going to raise your children as Jews, or are you going to take them back to the church? I think it's a very good point. I'm with the rabbis. I think you have to be careful with that, to be honest. But because the two of us came together and we were already married, and we were in we were older, we knew our own mind. There's no way I'm going to be having babies that are going to have to be raised according to one plan or the other. So it was a lot easier for us than young people.
Thanks.
Rowena, I think you had a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you were still a vegetarian.
Not vegetarian in the same way that we were, but because we live in Devonish, it's very hard to get meat unless we come down or unless people very kindly bring it up to us. Thank you to Rabbi Pesach for that a lot. So now we just have meat for Shabbat. So we still live largely vegetarian life, not because we necessarily prefer vegetarianism, but because we do one shop every 3 months for meat, and I don't like to have too much stuff in the freezer just in case the electricity goes off like it does here. So it's just a practical thing, really.
Thank you.
Does anyone have a question? Just put your hand up so if I can unmute you. Is anyone just having a look? Laura, do you have a question? Rosine, I know you're interested. Just unmute you.
Don't tell me I answered everybody's questions in my 10 minutes.
No. We've still got quite a few. We've got about 5 minutes left. I'll ask a question then. So how do you feel, you're isolated, unfortunately, in Devonish. How do you feel, being Orthodox in, in a community that's not full of Orthodox Jews, not living here in Melbourne? Do you find that hard?
Look, it has its difficulties, particularly for Reuben. He misses a minyan, obviously. He misses being able to be part of a study group, for example. We do some study online, obviously. We read a lot of books. Fortunately, we have our daughter lives just up the road, so we do have someone that we know and who understands and that is very respectful of Shabbat for us and for all the festivals and so on. Obviously, we would prefer to be in a community. But then on the other hand, we also enjoy a bit of our private time as well. So like I say, it's lovely when people can visit. It's wonderful when we can come down. We really enjoy it. But, you have to do, my dad would say, you have to cut your suit according to your cloth. And that's what we've done. We've made a good life for ourselves here. We stay Orthodox where we are. It's not that hard to do, actually. So yeah. Either way, if we won the lottery or someone gave us a house in Melbourne, we'd come down. But since that hasn't happened yet, Hashem can do anything he likes with that. I'm happy. you know, we have a good life.
Yeah, no, I know that we're very excited in the anticipation that you'll come down to Melbourne when when your health is up to it, and the virus is a distant memory. I know that we're going to have to do something very special and welcome you. You can meet all of us in person rather than on Zoom.
No, Hannah,
Well,
Marcel?
tell Hazel, anytime you come to Melbourne, I've got a spare room. You can stay with me.
Thank you, Marcel. I'd love to.
But I'm not kosher, Auntie. That's the trouble.
That's okay, we'll make do.
We can share herbal recipes. That's fine.
That's it.
I'll cook vegetarian food for you.
There you go. It's not that hard, really.
No, I've also got my spare room ready and waiting for them as well. That's right.
Well, this is what I've loved about these meetings that we have, because I feel that I'm part of your community or our community already because of this. And I'm really thankful, Joanne, for setting this up, because I've met all you lovely ladies. I've seen you all before when I've come to Synagogue, but you know, it's hard to break the ice. And when I come, it's a very rare opportunity. So I like to really throw myself into the service and enjoy the prayers and enjoy the singing and when
were you last in our synagogue? I never saw you.
We tried to come down about twice a year or every 3 months when we would meet.
You should come more often.
But it's not been for a long time. I broke my ankle, and so we couldn't travel, and yeah.
I think it was like July or August last year was the last time. Oh, no, you did come down another time, because I remember, you're having lunch in the hall.
Yes.
But I know it was last year sometime. And
yes.
It's been a while.
It has. We have had a couple of friends who've had us over to stay, which has been very nice. We did look at getting an Airbnb at one stage, but I really couldn't find one within walking distance to the synagogue. So as I had broken my ankle, obviously being closer was important. So for those reasons, we didn't come, So.
How far are you from Melbourne?
It's near Benalla, so you've got about 3.5 hour drive.
Oh, that's a long drive.
Exactly. It's a long way. It's a long way.
It's a beautiful drive though, and they live in a beautiful part of Victoria. It's absolutely beautiful. And when Jacques is a bit better, we're going to be going out to visit. We were planning on a visit like in the next weekend or so, but unfortunately it's been postponed after Jacques' accident. So we're just...
Well, I was going to suggest you should, when Jacques is feeling better, or if you can get someone, when you're allowed to travel, which I think we are now.
I think we can now.
So hire a minibus.
I was actually about to say we should get a bus and I'll drive all the ladies. We'll all come up and visit you.
Just give me some notice so I can cook.
That's all good. No, we'll bring all the food from Melbourne for you. So we've run out of time. I'm just wondering, does anyone have any last minute questions, burning questions before we wrap it up? I'm surprised Viv didn't ask questions. That's not like her. Anyone? Laura? No? Sorry to put anyone on the spot, just doing a quick ring around? No? Okay, well that's it. I can't believe it. I have so many. I know we could sit here for hours. We know that. And I think we're going to get Hannah to come back on. I know people are interested also in Marcel's recipes, so we're going to have to do that again at a later stage. So we will, I think, yeah.
I'll give you the recipe of the minestrone soup.
Yeah, I think also, people were also interested in the what was it, the medicinal things that your mother, or was it your grandmother, were doing? And remember, with the coin. So we need to come back and revisit that at a later stage. But yeah. So we're going to do that, and we've also got a couple of other really amazing talks. So in 2 weeks' time. We've got Charlie German coming up, and he's going to be talking about his life. He was a child in a concentration camp, so I think that will be very interesting and inspiring. He actually does a lot of talking at the and speaking at the Holocaust Centre. So he's our next. So everyone is bringing something different, and it's been fantastic. So Hannah, I just really want to thank you for your time. It's been amazing.
Thank you.
I know, beside the timer then. I knew your story, but I'm so happy to listen to it. It's just so inspiring. It's so interesting. So thank you. Thank you everyone for joining today. It was beautiful to see you all, and look forward to seeing with you soon. And thank you again, Hannah, for being our guest, and thanks for sharing your
video.
Thank you.
Yep, it's recording and it'll be uploaded. I'll be sharing it in the Synagogue newsletter tomorrow, and I'll also put it onto Facebook so you can all watch it again if you want to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Good to
Thanks
see you
again.
all. Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.